Um, Hi. So, I broke my rib yesterday. I broke my rib on what I would call a bad skydive. I skydive. I jump out of planes for fun. You know, they're not on fire or anything. I actually just enjoy doing it. And I had a hard opening. My parachute opened a little harder than expected. It actually ripped on opening. It was that hard. And of course, when you're going from 120 miles an hour to 5 miles an hour, and you do it in under a second, you're going to bruise yourself. So I broke a rib. And that's okay. The hug was fine. I'll live. All my friends said, oh, that's a sign. You should quit. And I don't know how to do that because I believe that skydiving for me is medication. Skydiving for me is I call the plane that I jump out of Air Adderall because I have massively bad ADHD. And I've had ADHD my entire life. I was never diagnosed until my mid-30s, but I see everything that I have is exactly the same as what I had as a kid, and now they just have a label for it. In high school, it was called Stop Disrupting the Class and Sit Down and Shut the Hell Up. Stop Disrupting the Class disease is actually a real disease. And I was able to take everything that I thought was bad about having ADHD, coming home crying every day in school because no one liked me, because I would always disrupt the class or talk too much or try to be the center of attention. I had the social skills of a gnat until I was in my mid-30s and realized how to get a handle on this thing. I was always talkative. I was always too loud. I was always the kid who never shut up. I remember walking away from a group of people once and hearing one of them say, "Oh, thank God he's gone. He's such a nerd," or "We hate listening to him talk." And what I realized is that ADHD is not actually a bad thing, as long as it's managed right, as long as you manage it correctly. And I don't manage it with medication. I have a prescription for Concerta, which is an ADHD medication. It's a long-acting ADHD medication, which means like you could take one and basically be high for like 15 hours. And I'll use it very, very infrequently. But I live with my ADHD and I manage it in a couple of interesting ways that I want to share with you. The biggest problem with ADHD is that you can feel like you are amazing. You can feel like you're at the top of your game, and you can feel like you are the most incredible person in the world who is liked by no one and who is going to fuck up everything he does immediately because he has absolutely no skills whatsoever. You can radiate confidence. I can stand here on this stage and I can get you to love me. I can even get those two people who are walking out on me right now, I can get them to turn around and love me. And then I can go home and feel like I completely screwed this up. And that everything I said was bullshit, and you're going to see right through me. And that's a symptom of ADHD. You can feel like the most confident person in the world, but be as scared as a long-tailed cat in a room full of rocking chairs. And I live with that every day. And so what I've learned to do, I studied ADHD for several years. Like really studied it, like did research on myself, on friends. Not the most scientific research in the world, but it worked for me. And I learned the following things. ADHD or ADD or any kind of attention deficit, it's essentially this. Your body makes something called dopamine and something called serotonin. Dopamine and serotonin sit in your brain, and when you have to do something boring, like math, right? Or you have to read something, or my assistant says you have to fill out that form, you've been putting it off for 3 weeks. Normal people say, okay, it sucks, but let's go do it. And they sit down and they fill it out and they move on. I sit down and I immediately look for something else to distract me because I don't have enough dopamine and serotonin in my brain to make myself sit there. So ADHD is actually a lack of chemicals in the brain. While a normal person says, okay, I have to do this and gets it done, someone like me sits there and goes, this is boring. What's on the internet? So I've learned a handful of hacks that in the 5 minutes I have left, I'm going to share with you that whether you have ADHD or don't, could actually come in handy. I will not go a day without some form of exercise, which is really hard to tell because you look at me and I look like a fat fuck, but I actually do something every day, some form of exercise, whether it's running, whether it's swimming, whether it's biking. I've completed I've done 2 Ironmans, completed one, nearly died in the second one. That's what skydiving is as well. It's nothing but another way to kick up the dopamine and the serotonin and the adrenaline levels in my brain. When I finish a workout, when I finish a run, sometimes before a meeting, if I have a long meeting and I know it's going to bore the hell out of me, like with some of my investments or something like that, I'll drop before the meeting and I'll do like 20, 30 push-ups. Just something to work up the chemistry in my brain. It's awesome when people walk by me outside of a conference room and I'm in a suit. No, I'm fine, I'm good, no worries, just doing push-ups. I've done them on planes. Great way to get an air marshal to point a gun at you, by the way. Is, on a 14-hour flight, just drop in the aisle, start doing push-ups. You'll meet some really interesting people really fast. But that's what I do. I do things to change the chemistry of my brain so that I become a quote-unquote normal person. The flip side, the good side, though, of ADHD is tremendous in the respect that I'm very strange, and I get to think completely outside the box. And I get to think in ways that normal people wouldn't, because when you're ADHD, you have 2 speeds, sleeping and way the hell on. You don't have a middle ground. Think about that. Think about the kid in high school who doesn't have a middle ground. He's either not paying attention or he's going to try to control the classroom. Well, that doesn't work in high school, but once you're on your own, especially as an entrepreneur, you have the ability to do whatever you want. And if you can channel that, I equate ADHD to someone who can drive a Lamborghini or a sports car, a race car, a Formula 1 car. Having a really fast engine is beneficial as long as you know how to control it. I wouldn't want to put myself behind the wheel of a Formula F1, but give me someone who has skills, and they have a great machine that they can do great things. So I spend the majority of my time figuring out ways to control my ADHD and make it work for me. Exercise is one. Eating healthy sounds crazy, but when I eat like crap, which is a lot, I feel the difference. I feel the inability to work much more when I've just downed a pizza than when I have something natural and organic or healthy. And I'm not like this tofu-eating crazy person. I'm a pizza junkie. But if I have a big project or something I actually need to pay attention to, I eat better for like a few days beforehand, and it really does help. Find something you love doing that gets you excited, that gets you up, that gets you focused, and use that as a way to generate your skills and grow your brain so that you're able to focus and concentrate more. There is a downside. Skydiving, for me, is the ultimate endorphin rush. Even yesterday, sitting in a harness 3,000 feet above the ground, looking up at my canopy, which has a rip in it, thinking, can I land this? Is this going to be interesting? How's this going to work? Got a broken rib going on, right? Sore as hell from this opening. And yet I'm still loving what I do, right? It's still fun as all hell. I'm like, am I going to have to deploy my reserve chute? No? Okay, cool, we're good. We're not good. I have a ripped canopy and I have a broken rib, but we're still good. It felt great. The downside of that, though, is that if you don't get to do these things, if you rely on these things, which I do, skydiving, running, exercising, marathons, triathlons, if you rely on them and you don't have access to them for whatever reason, it's very easy to rely on other things. There is an incredibly fine line between ADHD and creativity and addiction. Okay, and July 1, I start training for the marathon again, the New York City Marathon in November, and I'm going to go dry. Because when you are ADHD, you have a much higher ability to, or much lesser tolerance, I should say. You drink more. You do things much faster than everyone else. You drink more, you eat more in some cases. It's a very slippery slope from, doing great things and being on all the time and using that creativity. It's a very slippery slope to finding things that supposedly up your endorphins, like drugs or alcohol, because in the long term they really don't, they hurt you. And it's very easy to find those things. So I leave you with this. Focus on finding ways to make your body do the right things for you, and it will, and instill rules in yourself to keep you in check. I'll leave you with this one rule that I've instilled in myself. I do public speaking all over the world. The only place that I have a rider on my contract, my contract is basically this: I'll come speak, you pay me, the end. That's my contract. The only place I have a rider on my contract is in Las Vegas. It says client does not have to be on the ground from wheels down to wheels up for more than 8 hours. And I'll fly in on a 6 a.m. flight out of New York, I'll get into Vegas at 10 a.m., give a speech at noon, and I'm back on a 4 p.m. flight. Why? Because for someone with ADHD, which is a fine line to addiction, nothing good happens for me in Vegas. So with that, thanks for letting me tear.